Hey everyone, it's Tyler. And for a while now, I've been getting a lot of questions and comments on Instagram about a certain camera that I use. So I thought I'd put together a little review on this guy, the Fujifilm X100F. Let's take a look. Alright, let's get one thing straight. This isn't going to be a full-on specs video, but here are the basics. The X100F is a compact digital camera with a rangefinder-inspired design. It features a 24.3 megapixel APS-C sensor. It boasts a fixed 23mm lens, which equates to a 35mm lens on a full-frame camera, and a wide-open aperture at f2. One of the best features of the X100F is the hybrid viewfinder. You get an optical viewfinder, as you would with any camera, especially DSLR, but in this case, you get an impressive electronic viewfinder. So when you're looking through it and you're adjusting your settings, what you see is what you're going to get when you take your final photo. All these specs sound really great on paper, and it's part of the reason why I took the plunge to the X100F a little over a year ago. Why did I get the X100F? Well, we have to go back to 2015, back when I was using this camera, the Nikon Coolpix A. It's a great little camera, and in my 3 years of using it, I've taken a lot of great photos. But it was really starting to take a beating, and I wasn't sure how much longer it was going to last. That's when I got interested in the X100F. It really looked like it was going to be a DSLR in my pocket. To me, this was a great upgrade to my everyday grab-and-go camera. I wanted something that was small, fixed 35mm-ish lens, and something that would be great for street photography or really any photography. Now, when I'm out shooting with the X100F, I'll have a lot of people come up to me and ask, what's with the old camera? You know there are digital cameras now, right? Well, that's kind of the appeal of the X100F. It's got this old-timey, retro kind of look to it. It's got these physical dials. And it's really not as intimidating as something like, well, this. All right, here's what I like about the X100F. It's the electronic viewfinder. It automatically shows you what your picture is going to look like before you take it. Some may say that's cheating, but it works in a pinch. Because of the smallness and portability of this camera, I really like using it for concert photography. I also really like using this camera for long exposure shots. And of course, because it's my everyday camera, I love using it for street photography. Its wide, not so wide 23mm lens gives it some versatility in the photos you can take with it. Now to talk about some of the dislikes I have of the X100F. And right off the top, it's not the DSLR in my pocket that I thought it was going to be. One of the main selling points of the X100F was the f2 lens. But when it's wide open, it can be really inconsistent. Sometimes it's too soft, and sometimes it's surprisingly sharp. I think there are a few factors to consider here, and some of them are on me. I'd take a picture and immediately zoom in on it and see what it was like at full resolution. And the results weren't what I thought they would be. But I get it, it's a 35mm equivalent lens. You're not going to get a lot of depth out of it unless you're really close to your subject. But I kept going back to, hey, I have a 35mm lens on my DSLR and I can get more depth out of it. Another knock against this camera is the bokeh. It is B-A-D, bad. It's mushy, it's not smooth, it's kind of barfy and gross. But sometimes it can throw a surprise at you too. Maybe this one's on me. Maybe I need to read the manual a little bit more, but There are way too many menus going on with this camera. There's the regular menu, there's the Q menu, there's the shooting menu, there's the filter menu. There's too many menus. And worst of all, one of the most common things I like to do is format my card, and there's not a really quick way to format your card. Lastly, the price. At $12.99, that's a pretty big investment for an everyday camera. So I've talked about my likes and dislikes about the X100F. Here's some middle ground. At about f4, that's when the camera really hits its sweet spot. f4 and above, that's when everything is optically performing at its best and you're getting the sharpest images. Another great thing about this camera is its low light performance. You can count on it to get a decent shot in low light conditions. One of the surprises of this camera is the digital zoom, and that's coming from a guy who does not like digital zoom. But if you're at a concert or you're pretty far away from your subject, it can be a game changer. And the X100F has enough megapixels to still maintain a pretty high quality image. Like other Fuji cameras, the X100F has built-in film emulation filters that you can use. These are pretty cool, but I don't really use them. I just shoot in standard and make all my edits in Lightroom. The X100F has some advanced filters built in as well, such as panorama and toy camera. I've used toy camera the most, and it gives you this kind of tilt shift look to your photo, but I just don't find myself in a lot of places to really use that and to exaggerate that effect. With all that said, I can say I like the X100F, but I'm not in love with it. Part of this is because of the way I shoot. If I'm going out with the sole purpose of shooting photos, I'm going to grab my D750 with a 50mm lens, and I'm going to grab my X100F to be my wide-angle camera. When I come back, I'm really more drawn to the dreaminess of the photos that I get out of my D750 than of my X100F. Don't get me wrong, the X100F is a great camera if you don't compare it to what you can get with the DSLR. It's not the DSLR in my pocket that I wanted it to be, but the X100F can take some really nice photos, and it's challenged me to take photos in a different way than I would with my DSLR. Thanks for watching, and if you like some of the photos I showed off, give me a follow on Instagram @Tyler.